Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us. We have a great presentation this morning. I'd like to introduce Adam Krass. He's going to present on assistive technology for students transitioning from high school to adult life. Take it away, Adam.
Okay, thanks very much, Joanne.
You're
Good
welcome.
morning, everyone. I'm Adam Krass. I'm an assistive technology consultant, and today we're going to talk about assistive technology that supports a transition from high school to adult life. And for those of you working with teens who are getting ready to graduate or thinking about getting ready for graduating, um, transition can be a stressful time. We're going to talk about how assistive technology should be included in that planning process. And I'm going to present some techniques for figuring out which assistive technologies should be considered or included in that planning. So today's presentation is funded by the Assistive Technology Advocacy Center of Disability Rights New Jersey. And here is their link. I encourage you to check out their website. They have lots of great events. They also have an excellent archive of saved assistive technology presentations, um, as well as lots of other great assistive technology resources. So if you're in New Jersey, ATAC is your source for assistive technology information. And by the way, every state in the country has a Tech Act uh, organization such as ATAC. And if you're outside of New Jersey and looking for your organization, just send me an email and I'll get you in touch with them. The next webinar I'm going to be doing in May is going to be note taking, all about note taking, assistive technology for note taking for students. We're going to be focusing again on students transitioning to college. So currently in high school or getting ready for college or even in college. And I'll be joined by Brian Friedlander, who's going to be my co-presenter for that webinar, which is on Tuesday, May 27th, and at 12 noon. And the link here is on this slide to register for that. By the way, I did put in the chat a link to all of today's materials. So if you click that link, it'll bring you to a Google Drive folder, and the slides and all the other handouts will be in there. Today's webinar is being recorded and it will eventually be posted on their YouTube Assistive Technology channel, and here's the link for that. Um, Now, SPAN does have a lot of great materials on transition. It's one of their specialties. So if you're looking for resources and additional um, presentations or webinars on transition, you really need to check out um, their real program, which is Reach, Access, and Link. And here's the link for it. Their website has their transition resources page has tons of great resources, so definitely check it out. Plus, there's just an incredible wealth of information about how to do transition within SPAN. So if you're in the midst of transition planning and you really don't know that much about it, or you want some help with it, or um, the folks at your child's school need some help, SPAN is an excellent resource for you. So I'm just going to, trumpet their experience in that area. And transition is not easy. There's a lot of moving pieces, and it's really helpful to have someone who's been through it and understands the process. And again, here's the link to the Google Drive shared documents folder. So a little bit about myself. I'm an assistive technology consultant. I work with children and adults with disabilities through evaluations, training, ongoing support, professional development, uh, webinars like today's, modifications and customizations. I work in central and northern New Jersey and New York City in person, and I work with people anywhere else via the usual remote modes, phone, Zoom, Meet, Duo, FaceTime, and I offer free 30-minute assistive technology consultations for anyone with disability, family member, educators, therapists, and these are all done remote. That is not in person by phone, Zoom, Meet, etc. If you want to set up a 30-minute consultation, send me an email or give me a call and we'll schedule a time. And these are excellent for anyone with an assistive technology question, but I find they've been especially helpful for families who are kind of new to assistive technology and they are looking for suggestions on how to get started, which direction uh, to go in, because it can be confusing in the beginning. So to get started, I want to find out a little bit about you all. Um, so if you could just take a quick minute to scan this QR code or go to this link and and fill out page number 3 of the Menti poll, just so I can get a rough idea of who you are. And I'm going to put this link in the chat, but you could just scan the QR code if you like to do that. Let's put that into the chat. Um, right, link for Menti poll. And let's just take a quick look at the Menti poll. Okay. And if I could make that bigger, I can start to see who you are. Whoops. So we've got 3 teachers or school-related folks. We have 1 family member so far. We have 1 person working in rehab. And by the way, this is all anonymous, so I'll just sell your information to the highest bidder. But don't worry, it's okay. No, just kidding. All the information is anonymous. And we have 1 IT person. Okay, great. So thank you for filling that out. Um, so educators, parents, healthcare, and IT folks. So if you haven't filled that out, just continue to fill it out, please. I really appreciate that. If you've ever worked on a grant, you know that you have to document what you're doing, and filling out this Menti form helps me with that process. So a big part of using assistive technology is trying it out. So if you don't have technology and you want to try something out, what do you do? Well, you can go to the Assistive Technology Lending Center, which is funded by ATAC and housed at an organization called Advancing Opportunities. They cover all of New Jersey, and they have a website listed on this slide, and you can check and see if they have the assistive technology you're looking for. If they do, you can reserve it and they will send it to you free of charge, and they give you a free return shipping label, and you can keep that technology for 2 to 4 weeks to try it out. When you're done, you just ship it back, and you can helps you decide if that technology is going to be good for that individual or not, because sometimes you just can't tell until you try it. Like buying a pair of shoes, which lots of people buy shoes online. I don't quite understand that, but this gives you a chance to actually try it out and see it. Now, just a little bit of background about assistive technology. Uh, as defined in IDEA, it has two parts. The things, the technologies, the devices is the first part. The second part are the services that support the use of that technology. So if you're involved in the IEP process and you're discussing assistive technology and maybe someone has recommended technology, you also need to discuss the services. And the most common type of service is training. Um, and training is really important because if people don't know how to use the technology, if the student doesn't know, the teachers don't know, the paraprofessionals don't know, the therapists, the family, they need to know how to use the technology. And not only how to use it, but how to integrate it into the classroom. So that's where the services come in. And IDEA says, yes, the services are part of the package. So make sure that they're included. And in general, here's just some motherhood and apple pie things about assistive technology. But I think they're important because a lot of folks that work in the education field may not be up to date on assistive technology and they may not realize how important it can be. And assistive technology directly supports least restrictive environment for learning. It supports greater participation with peers. Participation can be interchanged with the word inclusion. So it supports inclusion. It helps students access the general education curriculum, which is kind of the purpose of an IEP, right? It supports greater independence and it helps students learn and reach their educational goals. So assistive technology can be important in all of these for all of these reasons. And I just like to briefly discuss or include the fact that AT evaluations are often the starting point for a student using assistive technology. They can be requested by families, teachers, therapists, case managers, or other IEP team members. They should always be requested in writing because you want to document that you requested it. That means the district has to reply. They can be provided by district personnel. Whoops, typo there, sorry. Um, or independent evaluators. Assistive technology evaluators should have extensive experience in training in the use and implementation of AT for students with disabilities. So if it's going to be someone within district, that person should have extensive experience with assistive technology in addition to, their other duties. Maybe they're an occupational therapist or a speech therapist. And if they're not a therapist, they should be a RESNA certified assistive technology practitioner or other related certification with AT experience. And AT folks can come from a variety of fields, occupational therapist, speech, physical therapist, educational technology, special education, psychology. So the important thing is the assistive technology experience, hands-on. Okay, so let's jump into our topic, and that's AT for transition from high school. And uh, I think it's one of the most difficult transitions that young people experience because it's completely different. Going from middle school to high school or elementary school to middle school, those are transitions, but you're going from one school environment to another, and there are differences, but they're both schools, and there might be increased responsibility, etc. But a lot of things are the same from one school to the next. But when you're graduating from high school, you're going from the school world into the non-school world, and so many things are different that it's important to prepare students for all of those changes and families because it can be pretty a jarring experience if they're not prepared. Um, and why do we do transition? There's a number of reasons. First of all, um, Well, you're gonna one of the actual reasons or legal reason is to complete the transition services section of a student's IEP. And these sections include instruction, related services, community experiences, develop employment objectives, develop other post-school adult living objectives, acquire needed daily skills, and acquire vocational evaluation if needed. I would like to advocate for adding a section in the transition services plan to include assistive technology. Now, a lot of those are embedded in these, but I don't think a lot of districts are have a specific category for assistive technology, but I think they should. And the method that I'm going to be talking about today is called backward chaining. And in a nutshell, you're going to, to the best of your ability, identify post-high school adult living objectives. Another typo, sorry, based on the student's interests. Boy, I really need an editor. Um, and sometimes this is not an easy part, but you think about, well, what, you know, Bill, what would you like to do after you graduate high school? And a lot of middle school and early high school students really have no clue. I mean, that's very common. They really don't know what they're going to do after high school. And we the adults have to help them explore options. And I think many schools do a pretty good job of this. But if you can identify some potential, doesn't have to be written in stone, some potential high school adult living objectives, you then work backwards from those objectives or those activities. You identify the skills needed for those adult living objectives. And then from those skills, you work backward farther and look at the assistive technologies that individual might need to support those skills, to support that post-high school objective. And that can include any technologies that the student is currently using. I mean, this brings me to another question that a lot of families have, and that is if a student's using assistive technology in high school, what's going to happen when they graduate? And the good news is that a lot of technologies that you use in school have great application in a variety of post-high school settings. Obviously, going to college, is going to be the easiest to understand, transition. I mean, if you have a writing tool in high school or writing support and you're going to college, chances are you're going to want to use that same writing tool, which makes sense. But what happens if you're going to a work setting? Well, for instance, if you're using a note-taking support in high school, you still have to take notes when you're working. If you're at a meeting or if your boss asks you to do something and you need to remember it. So a lot of those skills, even though you might not be in a college environment, a lot of the things that you used in school could be used in a community setting, in a work setting, as well as a school setting. If you have reading supports, well, you have to read in just about any adult setting, whether it's work or community. Um, Math, okay, you might not need supports for doing algebra after you graduate unless you're going into a science field, but you do need to know, how to calculate change, how to manage your finances. So there is a lot of math involved in post high school life too. And that's kind of the trick of this planning is to, as much as possible, create this picture of what your young adult is may be doing after high school. So there are pretty much six potential settings for post-high school adults. The first would be secondary education, college, or taking courses or trade school. Not trade school, that'd be vocational education. Vocational education could be learning a trade. Integrated employment could be competitive employment in a store or a business. Continuing adult education, that's taking some classes not necessarily related to a degree. Independent living and community participation. Some of these you're going to be looking at regardless of where they're at. I mean, independent living is something everyone is going to be looking at, so that's important for everyone. Community participation. Again, that's something that everyone, regardless of what they're doing after high school, um, will be concerned with to some degree or another. Now, I just want to bring up another nice resource that's provided by the state of New Jersey, and that is the Transition School to Adult Life program. And I just want to take a quick look at their website because it does have a lot of resources. It's their New Jersey Transition Toolkit, and all of these sections have tons of resources under all these categories: introduction, conducting transition assessments, planning, pre-employment transition services, um, government agency supports. They have a Dare to Dream student leadership conference and FAQs. So it's another good resource in addition to SPAN's page for information about transition. But today we're going to kind of be focusing on SPAN's Family Guide to Transition Services in New Jersey, which I think is an excellent resource. Excuse me, I gave everyone a copy of this in the Google Drive folder. I'm just going to show that to you. Where is it? Oops. 1 second. Let's see. Here it is. So this is, like I said, this is a really great resource. It's 36 pages and it really walks you through the process. And we're going to be talking about a few different sections about it. If you've never looked at this, it's in PDF format. You have access to it right now. I encourage you to read it. It's a real wealth of information, and it's and you really can't start too soon with this because I mean even students in upper elementary school. I mean you should be thinking about what are the skills you're going to need as an adult and work backwards from them. SPAN also has a great transition checklist. I'm just going to show that to you briefly. And this is a really great thing to work, resource to work with because it breaks it down into three groups. The first group is 4 to 5 years before leaving the school district. Then 2 to 3 years before leaving the school district. And then 1 year before leaving the school district. Now, it lists assistive technology somewhere. Here we go. So assistive technology is listed in the 4 to 5 years. Investigate assistive technology tools that can increase community involvement and employment opportunities. Um, I would include assistive technology in all of those areas because they also relate to secondary education. I think assistive technology actually applies to all six potential settings. Um, post-high school, including independent living and community involvement. But this checklist is a really great place to begin. And there is also, oh, here's another in, document that I provided for you. It's spans transition fact sheet. And it's really great too. I mean, it's only 2 pages, but it's a lot of great information packed in here. And if you don't know anything about transition, this is a good place to begin. I like that. I like fact sheets. Okay, so the span transition guide breaks things down depending on the age of the student. So they're giving you different information depending on how old your student is. Um, but they also talk about, how does the IEP address student needs? What are post-secondary goals? What is a transition assessment? On pages 14 and 15, talking about self-advocacy skills. And self-advocacy is one of those things that, we know it's important. Um, Students don't always know if they have good self-advocacy skills or not, but it's something that is so important. And it's kind of one of these fundamental differences between being in high school and not being in high school. And, the burden of proof really shifts from the school district to the individual when a student graduates from high school. After they graduate in high school, the onus is really on them to request the things that they need. If they don't request it, the assumption is going to be that they don't need it. And this is one of the hardest things for students to learn. So the earlier you can start, the better. But it also applies to assistive technology. So if a student knows they need um, a talking digital book to read their textbooks, and they land in community college, and all of a sudden it's not being provided to them, it's not a small matter for them to learn that they have to ask for it. They have to speak to their student services department, or they have to talk to their professor and they say, I need this textbook in digital talking book format, please. And can you help me find it? And that is not a small thing to learn. Many students have difficulty making that transition, but it's very important, especially, I mean, as it applies to all things, but also for assistive technology. And the transition timeline is a big part of this family guide. And they even start, they start where I think you should start, birth to 12 years old. I know it seems kind of odd to think about transition that early, but it really is a great idea if you can. The next age band is age 13 to 14. And this is really the years before they actually have a transition plan. I believe that's done at age 15. But these are things like helping your youth explain their disability, um, learn decision-making skills, how to communicate their interests, preferences, and needs. There's the self-advocacy. Request accommodations in school and the workplace. That is assistive technology many times. Start thinking about what they're going to do after they graduate. That's on pages 20 and 21. Ages 15 to 16, you're starting to think about careers, potential careers. Um, you're starting to think about, what's available after you graduate. and you're starting to make arrangements for any standardized college entrance exams. Um, you're practicing independent living skills. And I would also add, learn about assistive technologies that will support those. 1 year before leaving school, start to think about public transportation. Apply for appropriate post-secondary education options. And there's a lot more in that guide that we don't have time to talk about today, but I encourage all of you to read through it and to think about, how you could start with your child or your student to start thinking about and planning for transition vis-a-vis assistive technology. So to do a little bit of that, we're going to look at a case study. We're going to look at Derek, and I'm going to show you some forms that I put together that help with this backward chaining process of looking at assistive technologies while the student is still in high school. Now, you could start earlier if you want, but since we are talking about high school, um, we're going to start there. But before I do, um, this would be a good point if there's any questions that you want to put into the chat or turn on your microphone. I'd be happy to entertain any questions about what we've talked about so far.
Adam, there was one question in the chat from earlier regarding if there are fees for an assistive technology evaluation, and if so, what can a school district expect to pay?
Okay, that's a good question. Assistive technology evaluation. Well, if someone from the school district does the evaluation, there's no fee because that person is already working for the school district. But if a school district is going to use an independent evaluator, um, the fees can vary depending on the type of evaluation. For example, an augmentative communication evaluation, which is considered assistive technology, can be anywhere from um, $1,300, $1,400 to $2,500, maybe even up to $3,000. But in that, I'm sorry, up to $4,000. So there's a wide range there for an augmentative communication evaluation. For an assistive technology evaluation for learning supports, let's say for a student with ADHD or a learning disability, um, or a physical disability that needs to access technology or a curriculum, the the fee could be anywhere from $1,000 to $2,000 uh, in that neighborhood. Other questions, comments? Okay, and as we're going along, please feel free to put questions in the chat. Joanne will try to answer them, but Joanne, if you want to break in, and just, let me know if someone has a question that's relevant to what we're talking about, then that's fine. Feel
Okay,
free.
I will do that. Thanks.
Sure. Okay, so Derek is a 15-year-old student. He's in ninth grade. He likes to sing, perform in plays. He enjoys history, socializing. He likes discussion. He likes hands-on learning. And his vocational goal is to be an actor or singer. So this makes things a little bit easier. When someone knows what they want to do, um, it always helps. The old saying, it's good to have a plan, is so true. Because even if that plan changes, that's fine. But to have a plan is really a great place to be because you can start thinking about what you're going to do and what you're going to need. Um, there's so many accomplished people who started out, you know, wanting to do one thing and then they change course, but that's part of life and it actually can make things more interesting. So don't be afraid to pick a goal if it feels right. Um, Now, Derek has challenges with reading, especially for topics that he doesn't enjoy, and he has some difficulty remembering facts and things that he's read. And he's currently in high school. And the task that he's working with now in high school is reading textbooks and remembering content. But we're going to actually be focusing on post high school. And that could be a number of things. If he wants to be an actor or singer, um, there could be a whole variety of sources. So I'm going to open up the worksheet, which I call the Transition Goals, Skills, and Assistive Technology worksheet, which is also, I've also shared a copy of it with you. And whoops, let's find. All right, here's Derek's. Let's make this a little bit bigger. Okay, and I'm going to need your help. I'm going to need your help with this. So I did fill out the transition goal, which is acting or singing. I just also in parentheses put in the fact that Derek does struggle with reading. And I thought about some of the skills that would relate to acting or singing, and that could be public speaking. I think I focused on acting, reading scripts, memorization, and time management. And now I want us to just fill out potentials. What are some potential assistive technologies that could help with public speaking, that could help with reading scripts, that could help with memorization, or that could help with time management? So I'm just going to open this up. You can turn on your mic or type it in the chat. And let's start with assistive technologies that could help with public speaking. Anyone have any suggestions or things to try? We're just going to keep it very loose, just like almost like a brainstorm. Or you can just volunteer ideas for any of these four skills, reading scripts, memorization, and time management. I'll just put it in the right column. Uh,
Can you see the chat, Adam? Someone.
I'm seeing it now.
Okay,
All
good.
right. Visual schedule for, let me just collapse this a little bit. Whoops, 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 whoops. All right. Visual schedule and note taking. All right. So the visual schedule is for time management. Good. Um, Note taking is for memorization, I think. Okay. All right. Those are all really good. How about for reading scripts? Okay. Reading supports is good. Any specifics? Any examples of reading supports that we could put in here? Oh, text to speech for public speaking. Thank you. All right. Read and write for Google Chrome. Okay. Audiobooks. Teleprompts. Okay. Lots of good ideas. Prompter, cue cards. Okay. All right. Any other suggestions? And we're gonna go into these a little bit more, but these are all really great. Okay. Thank you. Okay. So, but what do you do if you don't? And this is great. And we can talk, we're going to come back to this a little bit. What do you do if you really honestly don't know that much about assistive technology? And I think this idea of just identifying reading supports is a great way to begin. But there is also something called, where is it? Where did I put it? Whoops. Uh, Here it is. Okay, so there's something called the Wadi Assistive Technology Continuum, and it's kind of a list of generic assistive technologies that are organized by category. It's 2 pages, and it has seating and mobility, motor aspects of writing, reading, math, composing written materials, communication, computer access, organization, skills, recreation and leisure, vision, time management, and it's a little easier to see. Sorry, I'm kind of there. It kind of goes down in columns, 1, 2, and 3 columns, so it's actually easier to see it in paper. But you can kind of go through this. Let's take a look at the reading section, for example. So in reading, you have books adapted for access. We have low-tech modifications to text, a handheld scanner to read individual words, picture supports, electronic text, modified electronic text, a text reader, scanner with OCR, and text reader with study skills support. Now, they don't have individual names of the technologies, but they do have generic descriptions of them. Um, and let's say we wanted to do electronic text or modified electronic text. I'm just going to go back to Derek's worksheet here. So reading scripts, like for instance, read and write for Google, we're going to talk about that a little bit later. That's an add-on that will speak text that's in a Chrome browser. It'll read it aloud. So if Derek had a PDF version of the script, he could have on his computer in digital format, the computer could read that text to him and he could practice reading it, listen to it, and then practice saying it himself, listen to it again, practice reading, saying it himself. And he could use that for both reading and for the memorization. We'll actually try that a little bit. So the WADI checklist is a nice way to begin if you have absolutely no idea where to begin. There's also another worksheet, which I don't know if it'd be helpful or not, but I did put it together because it seemed like it could be useful. And along the left-hand side are the 6 post-high school outcomes. These are the adult. Oh, that should be bolded. Sorry. And yeah, so the top, the columns are categories of skills, and the rows are the adult living objectives. So you have post-secondary education, vocational education, integrated employment, continuing adult ed, independent living, and community participation. So let's say reading is not your strength and you're going to go to post-secondary education. So let's say Derek's going to go to school he's going to go to college to a theater program to become a professional actor. Well, he's definitely going to need reading supports to help him with taking his college classes, not only in his acting classes, but all of his academic classes as well. If he also struggles with writing, he might need help with that as well. Taking notes, I would say, whoops, taking notes sounds like it could be an area of need for him. Organization skills and time management. I think he's probably good in the areas of social skills and activities of daily living. So these are 5 areas that he might need assistive technologies for in college. Anyway, I haven't really used this sheet too much, but if it's helpful to you, then then use it as much as you want. Now, we've got about 10 minutes left, maybe a little bit more. Um, the next part of the presentation is going through specific examples of assistive technologies in a number of functional areas. We don't have time to go through all of them. So at this point, I'm going to ask all of you if there's anything in particular that you would like to see demonstrated. And I know that Read and Write for Google is one that we talked about, so I can certainly include that. I also like to include Bookshare, which I think is a really great reading support. Um, and I would like to talk about Glean, which is a note-taking support that a lot of colleges use. But if there's anything in particular that you would like to see, um, then put that in the chat or turn on your microphone and tell me if there's something in particular you would like to see discussed today. Okay, thank you. Time management. Okay. All right. So far we got Read and Write for Google, Bookshare, Glean, and we're going to talk about some time management supports. Apps for plagiarism. That's a good question. Um, there are a lot of different ones out there. Typically at the college level, the colleges provide one for their professors to use. So there are a couple out there. I'd have to do some research on them. And in the age of AI, it's becoming more challenging. But if you send me an email regarding plagiarism apps, I'd be happy to do some research for you and send you some suggestions. But I don't think I could intelligently address tools for that today. But thank you for requesting it. Okay, so let's take a look at Read and Write for Google. Now, Read and Write for Google is a really great tool. It'll work on a Chromebook. It'll work on a Windows computer or a Mac computer. Both of those will need the Chrome browser. And one of the beauties of Read and Write for Google is it's there when you need it, and when you don't need it, it's not in the way. You basically turn it on. It's what's called a Chrome extension, and you turn it on by clicking this I'm sorry, the purple puzzle piece. It is a subscription. a yearly subscription. Many school districts provide it for their students if they need it. Colleges are starting to learn more and more about it, but not all colleges are using it, unfortunately, but they should. And it brings up this toolbar. Um, and there's one for writing, which is the one we're seeing now, and then there's a whole other toolbar for reading. It has a bunch of different tools. Um, One I want to show you is called word prediction, and it now incorporates co-writer. So if you're familiar with co-writer, uh, the um, the co-writer tools are now integrated into or included in Read and Write for Google. So I'm going to write the sentence tomorrow, and there's tomorrow will be Wednesday. Now, if I always spell Wednesday wrong, like this, kind of how it sounds, Wend, you'll notice that it has something called flexible spelling, and it gave me Wednesday as one of the choices because a lot of people spell Wednesday Wend. It also has text to speech, so I can have this sentence read back to me to check it. And excuse me, if I want to read something or have something read, let's bring up this and I'm going to turn on orbit notes. Let's see if it'll work. And orbit notes is part of the Read and Write for Google. Whoops. Let's try that again. Hold on. Let's try that one more time. Um, all right. It's not doing what I'm hoping it would do. Okay, I'm sorry about that. All right, let me just show you a different. All right, so let's say I'm going to try to bring up a script, um, Romeo and Juliet script online. So I'm bringing text up on the screen and I'm going to turn on Read and Write for Google. And I'm going to highlight the section and I'm going to have it read. And I can adjust the voice speed and I can pick different synthesized voices. Read and Write for Google has some nice, um, they have a list of AI enhanced um, synthesized voices, and some of them sound pretty darn good for synthesized speech. They have more human-like inflection and a little bit more expression, so they sound a little less robotic. And these with this little sparkle next to it are the AI enhanced voices, and they have a number of them in Read and Write for Google. And that's a feature they just added, which I think is great. So that's Read and Write for Google. Um, it also has a really nice feature for simplifying web pages and getting rid of all the extraneous videos and ads. and just let you focus on the text on a web page, which is really great. All right, the next tool I want to show you is Bookshare. Excuse me. Bookshare is a digital talking book library. They have over 1 million books. It's free for any student with a disability, including college students, including anyone taking a adult ed course, even basket weaving. If you're enrolled in a class and you have a reading related disability or a physical disability or a visual impairment that impacts reading, you can qualify for a free Bookshare membership. Families and individuals can enroll themselves. You just need a proof of disability letter, which is a very short form signed by a doctor or a therapist or a reading specialist or a teacher. And I'm just going to show you a book in Bookshare. This is Call of the Wild, and I'm just going to make the text bigger, show you what that looks like. I'm going to make it really large, and I'm just going to change the colors just to show you what it could look like. And it will highlight the words and read the words. Whoops. And Bookshare will work on a smartphone, a tablet, computer, so you can carry it around with you on your phone and
Adam,
and
could
listen to books that way. Yes.
um so we couldn't hear, or I couldn't hear that. Was it reading
Oh,
aloud?
whoops, hold on. It was. Let me just share the sound again. Um, Share computer sound. Whoops. Sorry about that. Sorry, let me try that again.
Buck did not read the newspapers, or he
That's
would
okay.
have known that trouble was brewing,
Thanks, Joanne.
not alone for himself, but for every Tidewater dog, strong of muscle and with warm, long hair, from Puget Sound to San Diego.
So that's Bookshare. Um, if you're okay with the synthesized speech, then Bookshare is for you. If that drives you crazy, then look at Learning Ally, which is another company that provides something similar, but it's recorded speech, recorded human speech instead of synthesized speech. Um, Bookshare is free. If you qualify, Learning Ally is a subscription. So that's a paid program. Um, the next thing I just wanted to briefly show you is Glean. And Glean is a note-taking support that many colleges are using. And what Glean will do is it allows professors to upload their PowerPoint or their Google Slides into this program. So the student would have a computer or a Chromebook. They would see the slides, and as the teacher is speaking, Glean is doing real-time transcription. So it listens to the professor and it's transcribing it in real time and adding it to the the lecture document. Um, After the class is over, you could go back and listen to it. You can also, like a lot of AI tools, you could ask questions of the transcription. So, for instance, you could ask it to summarize the transcription. You could ask it to create bullet points or to-do list or a number of other tools from the transcription. So like if you're using ChatGPT, you can get results and then you could ask it to refine those results or ask questions about the results, and ChatGPT will continue to give you more information Glean is kind of similar. You could ask questions of about the lecture, and Glean will try to give you that information. Um, that's a very brief overview of Glean. I am starting to work with a couple of high school students on Glean because a lot of colleges use it. So I'm helping them get familiar with it and just get some practice. There's a 30-day demo for free where you can practice using Glean with, let's say, like a TED Talk video, which are pretty similar to college lectures, and just get familiar with the tools and learn how to use it. Otter AI is also another tool that can be used for note-taking support. And by the way, Brian Friedlander and I will be talking a lot about these tools on our webinar about note-taking later this month. The last topic was time management, and time management is a difficult subject because it's not easy to do. But here are some tools you can use for time management. Visual timers are something that are often used in elementary and middle school. Not a lot of high school students want to use a time timer on their desk or a visual timer because they may not like the way it looks. However, we've got all kinds of smartwatches and smartphones. Now, I know a lot of schools are having students put their smartphones away, either all day or during class. But there are a number of watches that can help with that. One is called the Gizmo watch, which is, I think you get it through Verizon, and it connects to your cell phone. And it provides, it's kind of like a scaled back smartwatch. It has limited functionality, but one of them it does have is it has reminders and to-do lists. The one area where it does limit is how many people you can call or text. It just limits it really to family members. Um, Google Calendar, Apple Calendar, um, and things like Canvas Calendar, which is the learning management system, are really great tools that many students may not be fully utilizing. So if a student has a smartphone and they have access to it, I really encourage you to explore the digital calendars that are on those phones. But the most important part of using those calendars are the reminders. Um, and if someone would like, more information about time management, please contact me. We could set up a 30-minute consultation so we can get more into details for, your specific child or student. Um, we're going to kind of wrap it up at this point. Before we have final questions or comments, I just would ask all of you if you wouldn't mind taking a minute and going back to the Menti poll to do pages 4, 5, and 6 so I can get some feedback about today's presentation. And I want to thank all of you for your participation and great comments and questions. And if it's okay with Joanne, we do have time for a couple more questions. And
Sure.
and here's my contact information.